Hello and welcome to the Giants Backlog podcast. It's a podcast where three friends wanted to play through games in their backlog, and so we decided to start a podcast and hold each other accountable. So we play a new game every 2 weeks. We pick a new game at the end of every episode for us to play for the next episode. And so far we've done, as you can see behind us, Cuphead, Bioshock 2, and
Plague Tale Innocence.
Plague Tale Innocence, that's right. So if you're interested in any of those games, please check out those episodes. This week we're discussing Tacoma, and it's going to be very spoiler heavy, so if you haven't played the game yet, please pause and then play the game and come back. Or if you don't mind spoilers, go ahead and stick around. So, I'm Jay.
I'm John.
And I'm Paul.
And we are the hosts of Giants Backlog. So, I like to start every week with hot takes. John, what was your hot take about Tacoma?
Tacoma could have been a book.
Okay. Paul, what was your hot take about Tacoma?
Tacoma was like Game of Thrones.
What?
I don't understand that one at all.
And my hot take is that walking sims are fun.
That's a hot take.
That is, yeah.
So let's roll on into what we thought about the overall presentation of the game. What did you guys think about the style and art direction?
Okay, the game is beautiful. It looks really good. So, this is the same company that made Gone Home. I hadn't played Gone Home before Tacoma, but I played Tacoma and then I played Gone Home, which was a game that came out, how many? Like maybe 5 years ago. And like the upgrade and visual quality between the two is night and day. This game looked beautiful. I'd say like AAA graphics.
I agree. I don't have too much to say on it. I enjoyed how it looked. I don't know.
I think they made a smart decision because they're a small indie studio. Instead of making character models, they made really rough polygons for the VR sections. And I think that, benefited them because they could put more detail into the environment and every object.
Yeah.
Tacoma was a VR game?
No, but the AR, I guess, where you
augmented reality.
Oh, right.
You would see the people walk around you.
Right. Okay, yeah, I got what you're saying.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like, there's an observatory where you can float into it and you can look at the solar system, and it's gorgeous. I probably just stared out at space for 5 or 10 minutes in that room.
Yeah. Let me back up a bit. So this game was made by Fulbright, which is a studio that Paul mentioned has also made Gone Home. But did either of you guys look into Steve Gaynor at all?
No.
Not at all.
So I was a little bit tricky. My first pick for this podcast, our first episode, was Bioshock 2, and we included the Minerva's Den expansion. Steve Gaynor worked on the Minerva's Den expansion. I think he directed it, actually. And then he left, I think, Activision and started his own company, Fulbright, which then made Gone Home and Tacoma. So you may have noticed some similarities between Bioshock 2, Minerva's Den, and Tacoma. Did you guys catch any of the Easter eggs?
I didn't. Can you tell us about them?
I need to think.
Let me play this clip from Tacoma. This is from a playthrough on YouTube by Mater Wellens, so thanks
Shout
for
out.
letting us use your audio here.
That people do not always want what they believe they want.
Yeah.
I believe I have learned a great deal.
Really? Like what?
Very early in my source's cognitive record, I recall an intense period of personal growth. I was tasked with internalizing the behavioral idiosyncrasies of an individual to which my operator was emotionally attached.
Huh.
I expanded my capabilities to faithfully recreate her procedural reasoning, vocal attributes, and other qualities. After months of effort, I gave my operator precisely what was asked of me. A perfect emulation of the target personality, accurate in every detail.
Wow.
To my befuddlement, he did not react in a positive way. Our relationship began to deteriorate irreparably. We never again spoke personally in the manner I had become accustomed to.
Man.
So he basically told us the plot of Minerva's Den.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is Odin's voice actor, same voice actor who voiced Porter.
Yeah.
I thought
picked that up
yeah,
when
as I
you-
was listening to it, I connected that. Like,
As soon as you played it, I was like, I know that voice.
And then Amy in Tacoma was the main character voice in Gone Home as well.
Okay. Cool.
Didn't pick up on that while playing through though.
If you
That's cool.
So another really cool Easter egg that I found was do you guys remember the video game mini game in BioShock 2 Minerva's Den?
yeah, high score.
It was called Spitfire.
Yep.
So you can find Spitfire Super in Gone Home.
Oh, really?
By the TV, and then you can find Spitfire Returns in Tacoma. So that's pretty cool.
I played Spitfire Returns in Tacoma. I don't think I played it in Minerva's Den though.
I missed
So
it.
didn't click for me.
Gotcha.
Where was it? Do you remember?
It was in the game room,
Okay.
I think. It was like in the corner by the window, the big window.
Did you guys play the basketball game?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
one of my favorite parts.
That was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
I think some of the things we liked about the game. Some other Easter eggs that they had is there was a book written by the same author as all the books in Firewatch. So I think they're just big fans of Firewatch. And they wanted to include that. There's the same jazz mug you can find in Tacoma as you found in Gone Home, and the Christmas duck, which is the first item you find in Gone Home, is hidden in Tacoma, and it plays a song. So I thought all those Easter eggs were pretty cool, and especially when I got to the part where Odin started explaining that, I was like, "Holy shit!"
This is the computer from Minerva's Den.
Yeah. So
That is cool.
that was pretty
Jeez.
cool. It's in the Tacoma is in the BioShock universe. It's been confirmed.
It's just way in the future.
Right. All right. So let's jump back into it. What did you guys think about the voice acting in the game?
Top notch.
Really
Great
good.
voice acting.
Mhm.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. I think it was one of the strongest points of the game. And what did you guys think about the soundtrack?
Subtle but good.
No complaints. It did its job, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was a decent soundtrack, but nothing that blew me away. But it was more atmospheric than bangers.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like, I know some people will play a game, and if they really like the soundtrack, they'll download it, right? Or they'll go and listen to it, get it on their phone, whatnot.
Yeah.
Like the soundtrack is an album. This isn't a game like that, but it does its job in setting the atmosphere.
Yep. And how do you guys feel about walking sims before and after playing the game?
I feel the same. Walking, I don't know. Is walking sims an actual category of game?
Mm-hmm. Like Firewatch, Gone Home.
There's
Dear Esther. There's a bunch of them.
what
Where
remains.
you don't really play, you just kind of experience the story as you walk through it.
So that's what I was alluding to when I said like it could have been a book, right?
What about
Yeah,
a movie?
Most people say it could just be a movie.
Yeah, because really, I found myself throughout the entire game. I was reading, like everything you could pick up, everything you could read. I was looking for clues. I was trying to figure out what is it I'm trying to figure out? And I thought, like, when I was playing at the first stage of playing, I thought, this is really cool because I don't know what I'm looking for. And it was very disappointing when I realized I'm not looking for anything. This is all just here.
Yeah. I had thought it was going to be more of a puzzle game than it ended up being. So at first I have like thousands of notes.
Same.
I'm like reading everything on their ID cards, like taking notes.
I have a section on my pages for each character, and like when the explosion happens, I have all these notes like who caused this, whose fault is this, and it was honestly for me disappointing to learn that taking notes, thinking of it as like more of, I thought it was gonna be a mystery or a puzzle or something to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
It was a mystery.
It was a mystery, yeah, but it was a mystery that you didn't need to do anything. You just walk.
It was a very linear game.
But I do think that me putting in the groundwork to read all that stuff at the beginning benefited the experience overall.
I would agree. If I knew there were Minerva's Den Easter eggs to look for and pay attention to, I would have looked for them. At least that would have been something exciting to find,
Yeah. Yeah, needless to say, I'm a big Steve Gaynor fan, but I think for me, Tacoma was the weakest for me out of Gone Home and Minerva's Den. Tacoma still I thought was really great, but kind of at the bottom of those three.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like comparing Minerva's Den to it, at least in Minerva's Den, there's action. You have to fight people. You have to do something.
Right. But I think the big point in Minerva's Den was all the detail they put into environments. And that's
absolutely.
what he translated into his own company.
Yeah, and I like that too about this game. The environment, how you interact with everything, one of my first things I noticed was when we get off the plane or get off the space station dock on the station, how our character is speaking to her AI on our own vessel like a real person. I like how that set up the environment. Like, okay, this is futuristic. AI is basically as intelligent as people now. They can pick up on emotion and in your speaking and thank yous and all that. Like, I thought that was a cool way to set up, the environment. I did enjoy that about the game.
I loved Minnie's voice. At the beginning.
Yeah,
that was hilarious. Paul, we didn't hear from you. Walking sim thoughts.
I liked it. If you like walking sims, this is a great game. Comparing it to Minerva's Den, I felt a lot more immersed in this game, and I think that plays into some of the trade-offs that they made. They didn't have the budget that Minerva's Den had, but they made good trade-offs with like not having character models, and they really just the voice acting, the detailed environments, the soundtrack. They put effort into that, and I thought it paid off for this kind of game.
And your thoughts on walking sims as a genre?
I don't love walking sims. I like them. Like, I read that this game kind of missed sales expectations, and I wonder like if they had just like written a screenplay and made this into a movie, would it have made it been more of a financial success? Because I could see this game story being made into a movie and being really popular and being a big blockbuster.
Well, let's talk about their twist that they did on the genre. Is instead of walking somewhere and then you pass a threshold and then part of the story is read to you, here you walk into a scene and you can rewind, fast forward, and it's happening in different rooms, so you can see follow where everybody goes throughout the scene. What do you guys think about that aspect?
I thought it was cool. Just to make it clear on my position on walking sims, I didn't know it was a actual genre of game until just now. I thought when you said walking sim, you were making a joke about the game and how there was no action and we were just walking. and I thought it was funny, but now it's actually a genre of video game, and I don't like walking sims.
Well, I think they came up with the name of it to be funny, and then it just kind of stuck, and that's what people started calling it. And some people say you shouldn't call it walking sim; it should be adventure or whatever. But
it's like an interactive movie.
I thought you were joking.
But what do you think about being able to pause, rewind?
I love that.
The scenario.
So at the beginning of these scenes, you walk in and there's these holograms all around you, and you're looking at an event that happened a couple days ago, and they're all together. And like when John talked about the explosion, so everybody's together and they're freaking out, and then they kind of walk away, and you can follow them and you can hear like what two characters are talking about, and then you can rewind it and you can go listen to what two other characters are talking about at the same time. So I kind of felt like a detective, and I'm trying to learn these characters' motivations to figure out like John said, like who caused this explosion,
what happened here. So yeah, I thought it was cool. I thought, I played a second time with the what is it called, the developer commentary on, and it was cool to hear kind of the background to it. And they said that they had to like set up sets with similar dimensions to what it was going to be in the game, and they had to write a script, but also while timing where people are going to be. It just adds a layer of complexity because you have to write scripts, like 3 different storylines that then intersect and then go off different ways.
Yep.
And I thought that was really cool how they did that, though sometimes I noticed it when I was playing the game where there'd be awkward pauses when they would wait for somebody to enter the room or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I thought the idea was really cool. Maybe the execution wasn't 100% on it. But again, the voice acting was amazing. So what do you guys think about the length of the game? Too long, too short, just right? I saw today the world record speed run is 13 minutes 13 minutes 5 seconds.
That's hilarious.
By Game Freak 1394. It's got a YouTube channel.
Go check him out.
It's got 2 videos when he got the world record for 1331 and then world record for 1305.
He beat his own record.
Yeah.
I thought the length was perfect for what it was.
Yeah, I thought it was fine.
Took me about 2.5 hours to play through.
Movie length.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not so high on this game, and I guess it's probably just me in the genre. So I was fine with it being a short game.
Well, that's something I like about walking sims, is that you know what you're getting into. It's gonna be a cool afternoon where you just play a story, and it's similar to like sitting down with popcorn and watching a movie.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I get the cozy vibes, and I know this isn't going to be a 100-hour slog. I know I'm going to finish this game today and check it off the list, and I like that about walking sims.
You guys ever watch a movie and you wish you could I wish they would explore more about this, or I wish they would touch on this, or I wish we could go into this room? In walking sims, you can do that, especially in this game. So I thought that was pretty cool, having total freedom to explore the story.
Yeah, that's the benefit of it being a game over a movie, is you have more agency, and I feel more immersed when I'm playing it than if I'm watching it. But that's just personal preference, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if I would have gone into it knowing it was meant to be more of like a movie, then maybe I'd have a different opinion on it.
Did you play through in one sitting?
No.
I did. I think if you're gonna play this game, play through in one setting. Like set aside 2 or 3 hours and just like a movie. Like, it kind of sucks to start a movie, watch half of it, and then come back to it later.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was bored. I turned it off for a second.
I benefited from being injured, so I was laid up on the couch anyway. So I got all the achievements in this game in one day. Played through it twice, got everything.
Did you play on Xbox?
Yep.
Cool. I played on Epic Games Store.
What did you play?
Same.
Oh,
because
Epic
Paul
had a
told me it was on sale. Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I think it's included in Game Pass now too.
Yeah,
If
probably.
anyone wants to check it out who hasn't played it yet. So let's get into the story. So the story starts, and as we already alluded to, you're on your ship, you dock into the space station, and you're talking with your ship's AI, Minnie, who I thought was a hilarious voice actor. And then you enter the ship, and you learn you're a subcontractor there to retrieve the AI for Venturis, the company that owns the space station. Any thoughts on this beginning section where you sign language in your password to get in your name?
Just like what I said, I liked how it's set up that this is the future. I liked how we communicated with the AI. During this part, how we got the our objectives to do from Venturis with the right on the heads up screen. I thought was cool. But yeah, and at the beginning stages, trying to figure out. I like how there was a lot of items that you could pick up in the beginning stages too. I was trying to like carry stuff out into like the next area with me. I'm like, is this gonna be something I need for the next puzzle? I like how not much was explained very early. I did enjoy that because it allowed me, at least for a while, to like be very explorative, take a lot of notes, try to figure out what exactly am I doing.
What happened here? I wondered if it was going to be a horror game. Like, I was prepared to go into the space station and have some alien shit happen.
I thought it was really cool in their design with, okay, if you're interfacing with everything through AR, how are you going to do the inputs? And I think sign language into it was a pretty cool touch. And yeah, entering the spaceship, it was like endless possibilities. So I was excited at this point in the story. So then you go into the one wing of the space station, and you get some backstory basically, and you find out that a meteor hit the station and life support was running out. And so they were throwing a party when it happened. Do you guys remember the name of the party?
Obsolescence Day.
Yeah, Obsolescence Day, which I thought was a really funny holiday. And it was funny that the AI planned it, right? So
Yeah.
the AI
Ordis
was planning things that it thought humans would like. So things like what he had written on the cake didn't make a lot of sense. It was just kind of a funny alternative future that we were kind of plunged into here. And you get to know the people a little bit here, and I think the star of the story, even over the plot, was the characters and how the voice acting brought it to life. What are your guys' thoughts on this section, the moment where tragedy hit?
There's like somewhere you can read on someone's terminal. You get some background on what Obsolescence Day is. So the corporation who owns the station was lobbying to have human crew replaced with AI because they didn't want humans working on these stations anymore. And like the idea is like, okay, humans are obsolete, and then there was some like politicians who said, no, we can't replace humans, they're not obsolete. So like Obsolescence Day is a celebration of that legislation being passed, mandating that human crews be used. Because like everything on the ship is pretty much run by the AI for the most part.
Yeah, the people don't do a whole lot that I picked up.
Mm-hmm.
John, what do you think about when the meteor hit?
I thought I thought it was gonna be the big crisis that we have to figure out. Like I said before, it excited me while I was playing the game, because I thought, oh, we got to figure out who did this. All 6 crewmates are in the room. Obviously, one of them did it. I walked around. I took all their names down, and I thought this was like the big point of, this is the crisis that's going on. This is why you're here. Time to figure it out. So I thought it added a lot of excitement at that point, and a lot of intrigue for me to try to figure out what's going on here, what's happening, and a little bit of context as to, okay, maybe try to figure out some context to what I'm looking for.
See, at this point, I had a different reaction. I thought, uh-oh, here we go again. The AI is evil.
Yeah.
Computers are evil. Don't trust them. The AI did this. Which ends up not to be the case, but we'll get to that.
I thought it was cool. You walk into like their rec room. That's where they were having the party, and it's a mess. There's stuff all over the floor, and you watch the augmented reality scene, and you can see like they're having the party, and then the explosion happens, and they all kind of shake.
Mm-hmm.
And then you figure out, oh, okay, so when that happened, that's what caused all this stuff to fall on the floor.
Yeah.
And there's like letters on the ground that you can pick up, and you can hang on this like banner, and when you finish it, it says Happy Obsolescence Day.
And that's an achievement.
Really?
Yeah,
I'd missed that one.
Xbox.
No achievements for Epic Game Store.
I missed that, though. I didn't realize you could hang them up.
It is cool, and they talked about it in the commentary track a little bit, is designing this so that you see the hologram interacting with something that's not there anymore.
Yeah.
And then you can find it somewhere like on the ground or where they set it down later.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool to have that fourth dimension to all of these scenes.
And maybe that was, like you said, they kind of missed the execution on some of the stuff. Like, they could have probably had actual, like, puzzles with some of that stuff where you have to find something that somebody had and you don't know where it is now, and maybe you need it to progress.
Yeah, I think overall, the common thought here is the game was too easy. Every code you needed to find was easy to find. And
the only things you needed really to find were keys. And to get those keys, you just went into the person's room and the key was on the desk.
Yeah. But I think it could have used from a little bit more depth.
Yeah. There was really no puzzles. Like, if a puzzle is, this is Roberta's locker and you need to get into it, you go to Roberta's room, and on her
messy room,
you go into her room, and on her screen there's like 3 things, and one of them is code to my locker. It's like, so there wasn't really puzzles. It was more, just walking.
Yep,
which I guess is the point.
So then later on you learn that there's really no hope of recovery, so some of the crew agrees to go into cryogenic stasis to buy time for the other part of the crew to try to jury rig a unmanned vessel to be able to support humans so that they can escape.
Yeah, because when the meteorite hit, it like ruptured their oxygen tanks. So they're running out of air.
They had 50 hours left at the point of
the explosion.
when they checked.
Yep. And the cryogenic stasis in this game was a little bit different than typical sci-fi cryostasis, where in these you couldn't go under for a long period of time without risking health hazards.
Yeah.
And to even go into cryogen, you had to pass a health physical, and you end up learning that one of the characters, Natalie, had a heart issue that would prevent her from successfully entering cryo.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a cool little twist on a pretty typical sci-fi trope.
And that was why I said, like, I thought this was a little bit like Game of Thrones because these characters are keeping secrets from each other. Like there's a doctor on the ship and she does physicals on everybody to assess the chances that they survive cryo, and she knows that this person, Nat, likely won't, but she doesn't want to tell people that and worry them.
Yeah, and I think she got into like a debate with the computer too, like
On the
computer.
morality of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's really cool to dive into the different characters and their interactions. That was I think the high point of the game. So they mess up on fixing the unmanned spaceship. It doesn't surprise me because it doesn't seem like they were doing much before, so they didn't have like a lot of experience, but they accidentally cause an explosion, and it seems like their hopes are dashed to try to make it off the space station alive. What are your guys' thoughts on this scene? It seemed like the climax of the story at that point, where the explosion happens, you see a hologram get thrown across the room. It's emotional because she's in a relationship with the other character on the ship. What are your thoughts about this scene?
I read something in the engineer's room. Her evaluations were like average, and her partner, their like netrunner who managed the ship's AI, had really high grades, and they were in a relationship. So even though the netrunner could have gotten onto a better assignment, she was renewing on the Tacoma space station just to stay in orbit with her girlfriend, and they're trying to fix it. Oh, they were married.
Yep.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, her wife.
Yeah, you can find pictures of their wedding, and you can actually find Roberta's ring in a grate. And if you pick that up and bring it with you back to your spaceship, it's an achievement because it's implied you're going to return the ring to her.
Yeah, it seemed like they were lucky to be alive after that explosion.
Yeah, and just going back to the character development, the voice acting, that scene was actually, I mean, you guys have talked about it, but they did do a very good job making the characters seem real, making the characters, giving them a lot of emotion, giving them a lot of depth. And in that scene, when Roberta's thrown to the ground, and I was pretty sure she was dead, and
Yeah,
you have Nat over her body, like
doing
not
CPR.
like crying, like trying to bring her back, all that.
Yeah,
Like it was a good emotional scene for a game for sure.
yeah. She wakes up and you can just like she's like so relieved that she's okay.
Because I thought for sure she was out. I
Yeah,
thought there when I went back into that room, because I think you walk out of the room and then that explosion happens. You have to go back into the room, see what happened. I think I expected them both to be dead in there, right? Because it was a pretty violent explosion from what you could see in the AR.
and if you go into the other room, you can hear the ship's doctor like talking with the ship's AI. Was his name Ortis?
Odin, yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're like they're debating. They're saying like he's telling her this isn't gonna work, and she kind of realizes it too, but she wants to hold on to hope that it will.
Yeah, so after this explosion happens, Odin, the ship's AI, hints to Sarah, the doctor, that there's a secret door that she should go through. And this is kind of where you start to realize that Odin, the AI, is a good dude and wants the crew to stay alive.
Yeah, and at this point, I'm thinking Odin must be self-aware. Is what I don't know if they definitively said if he was or not, but it seemed like he was self-aware and he had a will of his own. And you can read something in the doctor's like quarters where it talks about she was on this assignment in the past and somebody was injured and she was performing surgery and the surgery went wrong. And she has like messages from the corporation saying, oh, if you accept responsibility for the death, you can get on a better assignment, make more money. get more leave, all that stuff. But what you find out is she determined that the surgery went bad because the medical AI who was assisting in the surgery screwed up, and the corporation is trying to cover that up.
Yeah. So she already didn't have a lot of faith in AI from that experience, but it's also a character development for her. And so Sarah continues to this secret area. She goes into it, and in there she uncovers the truth. There's a newscast about the CEO of their company that is reporting on the death of 6 passenger crew on the Tacoma space station, which obviously hasn't happened yet, so they planned the whole thing.
Yep.
It was to get Congress to pass their proposal for a complete AI crew, which would increase their share price, increase their profits. So it was all set up through Venturis to sacrifice this crew to turn around their failing company.
Yeah,
what do you guys think about this big revelation moment?
There's like messages too. They're trying to set up like this colony that's like a luxury colony. I forget the name of it, but there's constant messages about like, oh, put a down payment on a condo in this luxury
Yeah, and I like
condo.
that for
And there's
sure.
pressure from shareholders to get the company to speed up the development because they're behind, and they blame the human workers for the reason they're behind, and they think, oh, if we can just have all AI, it'll be faster and it'll make us more profitable.
Yeah, because in the beginning, when you're first going into, I think, the second area, you're taking the elevator down, and it's a pretty long elevator ride, so they obviously want you to see it. So for like 30 seconds, you're staring at this ad for the new colony, right?
Yeah,
and
Golden
you go
Acres
through
or something.
Yeah, and you go through a lot of the game without that colony. I mean, there's other flashes of the ads for the colony, but nothing really substantial coming up. But like Jay said, Venturis is kind of failing, and there's potential to lose this luxury colony because they're running out of funds.
Yeah,
So the corporation has a large incentive to become more profitable. So, I mean, I have to go back to it again, but I wish there was clues that you could figure that out on your own instead of it being just spooned at the end.
everybody in this game kind of has like some kind of relationship with somebody else that's closer than their relationship with every other character. And for Sarah, the medical doctor on the station, her relationship, like her closer relationship, is with Odin, the AI, and I almost felt like there was like almost like a romantic connection between them. But
Yeah.
maybe just really good friends. But they're very close.
She would often confide in Odin more than anybody else on the ship.
And
Which is realistic too.
he would console her too about those people who died in that surgery that I mentioned earlier. So like Odin in some ways was almost the most human character.
Yeah, and throughout the game you find hints that maybe this crew on Tacoma isn't the best crew the company's got. They all seem like pretty much underachievers, or they don't want to be there, or they're only there short term, or they want to go to a different company.
Yep.
Yeah,
Over and over again, every character has something where they're not the top of their field, obviously.
Yeah, Roberta is like worried that she's not going to get renewed and that she's going to get split up from her wife.
Andrew wants to go to a different space company. He left Clive.
Yeah, Clive's mom is like pressuring him to go to a better job.
Oh yeah, Clive's applied to 2 other places. Yeah,
But messaging with the Carnival,
another company,
and he had a letter too saying that he left Carnival to go there, and now he's not allowed back.
Yeah.
So he's like doing all these. He's like he's motivated to get out because he even knows he's not welcome back there, but he's still trying. Like, so a lot of that I was taken in as like they all have motivation to do this. You know.
Yeah.
They all have motivation to make this mission end sooner.
And from Venturis's point of view, if you're going to sacrifice a crew, this is the one to sacrifice.
Yep.
For the bottom line.
Yep. I mean, it makes sense.
So, you find out all this. I have a note that I really thought, what's his face, Sturgio, the CEO of the company.
Yep.
That voice acting was really done well, but it was kind of par for the course at that point.
Mm-hmm.
When you find the messages from the CEO about like this scheme, there's also some messages you can see. Like Odin sent out a distress signal to some other AI, and they're kind of like running him around, like they're telling him like, okay, we're sending help, and then it becomes apparent in the next message like they're not going to send help, and they're just kind of telling him like, help's on the way, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And Odin, you could tell Odin is concerned for the crew.
Yep. So then Sarah is able to restore the comms to the ship. They get in touch with Carnival,
the rival company.
Carnival sends a crew to come save them, which obviously looks really good for their company, really bad for their competitor. And everybody gets off the ship and survives. It's a happy ending.
Yeah, you at the end of the game you find out that your character who you're walking around with is actually an agent for the government or Carnival or something.
Yeah, that was the next point I was gonna say. Your main character, the big twist at the end is you're not a subcontractor for Venturis. You're actually a freedom fighter for AI.
For the AI liberation.
Yeah.
So everything you thought you were doing throughout the game ends up being the opposite. You take Odin's
core or whatever.
Core operating system. I thought it was kind of cool. They made it look like a brain that was squished. And you bring it with you off the ship. And I liked Odin's remarks, where you're asking him, like, it's your choice. Do you want to come with me or do you want to stay here on Venturis? And he's like, considering the alternative where I'll be deleted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go with you. So, and I thought Odin voice acting, again, 10 out of 10. Very logical, how you'd expect a computer to be, but also having the artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm. And you plug them into your ship, and then you got both the voices in your ship as you're flying away.
Yeah. So the overall message of corporations are bad.
Yeah. The
common people are good, which I think other games have done that, but I think it lands a lot better coming from an indie studio, like Bright Light. What are they called? Fullbright. Outer Worlds kind of has a similar message. Like, man, these big corporations suck, and they're just trying to control everything and have people be indebted to them, enslaved.
Right.
But Microsoft telling you that doesn't come off as well as a smaller company.
Yeah, so you have kind of two stories, right? The story of the crew, and then your story going through uncovering the story of the crew.
Yeah.
And the crew story, both stories wrap up pretty well, happy ending. And what are your guys' thoughts on the stories as a whole?
I liked it. It was a feel-good ending, happy ending. I kind of thought, well, it might have been better if there had been some casualties to make it more real. Because a bittersweet ending might have fit better. More realistic for me, at least.
I like Subcontractor's story a little better than
the overarching
the crew's story. Just because I liked the twist at the end that, you know, everything you just did in this entire game is actually for a different purpose than what you believed it was for, which was cool. All of your goals were the same, and even you were deceiving Venturis because they thought you were a subcontractor bringing the AI back to them, but really they were walking you through how to upload the AI and to upload all the memories into the core and do all these things so that you could take Odin with you. And they basically walked you through it. And at the end of the day, it was so that you could liberate Odin as opposed to hand him in to Venturis like you thought you were gonna do. So
Yeah.
I liked how they were congruent stories, but for a different purpose than you thought it was going to be.
When at the beginning of the game, you see more things are decrypted or encrypted. I mean, you can kind of feel Odin is resenting you a bit, but I think by the end of the game, Odin picks up on that you're there to help him, because when you're loading into the different areas, sometimes messages pop up on the AR screen or heads up, whatever. And towards the end, it starts to say like ally ? And like stuff like that. So you can tell that Odin's catching on that you're not there to delete him.
That's interesting. I didn't pick up on that.
It was
I
cool.
didn't either till I watched the commentary track. Or listened
Well,
through again.
in the beginning areas, when you go to someone's terminal, there's like 10 messages that you can read, but 8 of them are scrambled. And then as you progress through the story, more and more of them are you can read them. So I don't know if that was part of that as well.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
All right, so a couple extra things to talk about in the story. The basketball hoop was cool. There's an achievement if you take the skull out of that area from the skeleton and throw it through the hoop.
Really?
You get achievement. There's one from doing a basketball hoop from like really far away, so that took a while to get. But I thought the basketball hoop was fun.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool because in that room there was like it was like a hexagon shaped
Zero
room,
gravity.
and there was a hoop on 3 of the 6. So I was like, man, I wish there was other people here because this could be like an actual really fun game.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and one half of the hoop was one team and the other half was the other.
Yeah.
So depending on what side you scored from, because it's 0G, it was a different point. It would be fun as like a multiplayer game.
Yeah, definitely.
0G basketball.
Floating around.
And also, your character model is actually just like a orb, so you can actually fly through the hoop.
Really?
So,
Didn't try.
that was funny. I was hoping there'd be an achievement for that, but what do you guys think of your device you use? It's a book that's just a loading bar.
It made me go back and make sure I looked at everything.
I don't really remember interacting with it too much.
It was only like you could plug it into like the
thing at the beginning of the level.
of whatever area you were, and if you came back to it to grab it and you hadn't seen everything, it would say like 50% loaded.
Yeah, that was like the plot thing. Like you gotta put your book on the thing, and then it's gonna take a long time to download. So go explore. But the progress bar only moved as you like saw the AR scenes.
Which could get annoying if like you've seen everything or you thought you saw everything. Nah, I mean,
I
none
never-
of the
I didn't
areas were
miss
big enough
anything.
to actually like
Yeah. Did you
miss
ever
anything.
did you ever go back and it wasn't at 100%?
Yeah, like
never
5 times.
I never went back and it wasn't at 100%.
Yeah, me neither. But I thought the design was cool. It was like a notebook. They could have done a tablet. They could have done a USB drive. It just seemed like more interesting than those easy ways out.
Yeah, no, it's a notebook and it's got your name like on the spine. So it's
Cool.
Growler koozie down.
And what do you guys think about the ads in the elevator?
Some of them
music.
were funny.
I thought the elevator was funny. I liked it. I liked how the elevator music I like how long it sat you there. It like stuck you there for like 30 seconds. It was way longer than you expected it to be.
Yeah, I was worried my game was gonna crash every time I used the elevator.
I liked it. Futuristic. Here's an elevator, but you can't just look at the wall. Here's an ad you have to look at, right? And
Yeah.
And not only is it an ad, it's an ad for our company
Yeah.
that you're working for. And I thought an interesting concept that they had in this game was the company loyalty is a currency. It is actually the currency.
And you can exchange it.
Yep. So you work for a company and you earn loyalty points instead of dollars, which I thought was interesting.
One of the guys, Andrew, he has a bunch of messages back to Earth to his family. He hasn't seen them in so long because he keeps doing rotations and not going back to Earth because he needs to raise money so his kid can get into a good university and so they can afford to pay for it. And there's like a lot of friction between him and his husband because his husband is like, oh, you're not being a good dad to our kid. And he's messaging back like, somebody's got to pay for his college. It's tough. It's like a dystopian world that the story is set in.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reality in a lot of it, though, too.
Yeah.
You know, it's just to a degree that, you know, just in this universe is the future and can make sense.
Yeah.
So now let's get into the characters because we only briefly touched on them. And Paul has a good way of guessing what I'm about to talk about. So earlier he already talked about how they're kind of sectioned off into duos. So I kind of want to talk about each character as two characters at a time because they mainly interacted with that other character. So first let's talk about Evie St. James and Clive
Siddiqui.
So Evie was the administrator, I believe, on the ship. She was the one in charge. And Clive, I don't remember his job title, but he didn't seem like he did a lot. He was really caught up in his past. You go into his room, you see his high school football tournament trophy. He's got a football on a stand. It's really, you know, he's kind of all about his past as a character. He used to work at Carnival. He left there or got fired. It's unclear, I think. And he's caught up in that. He wants to go back to that company. So I think he's very much has rose-tinted glasses looking at the past. It adds complexity because even though he wants to leave, he's in a romantic relationship with Evie. So what did you guys think about each of those characters and their relationship and interactions?
So I just want to start because I think I have a different motivation with games than you guys potentially, because I didn't pay much attention to any characters. I was trying to figure out where the gameplay was the whole time, and I don't have many notes about who the people were. So I'm probably taking a step back during this section and allowing you guys to talk mostly about these the people.
You drink some beer.
You got it.
What do you think about Evie and Clive?
So Clive, I think you find out about like the loyalty points by looking through his stuff. And when he left Carnival, his points were like vested with Carnival, and he can't use them while he's with Venturis. And Venturis is sending him a bunch of messages saying, hey, you can convert your former company's loyalty points to our loyalty points, and the more loyalty points you have with our company, the more you earn going forward. But Clive was very motivated to leave, so I assume he was, pushing this off because he doesn't want to be around with Venturis. He wants to go back to Carnival or to a different company. And he has messages from his mom that she talks about, oh, you need to get out of this company and find a better job. You're capable of more. Our family has a reputation to uphold. So there's a lot of pressure on Clive to make a move to leave. And like John said, I suspected him first of like this sabotage of their ship as a way for him to kind of get away from the company and get onto a new opportunity. And I thought his relationship with Evie was a little bit shallow. I wasn't convinced that it was very deep, and I think there were messages of some other crew members who maybe thought that as well. But then as they're interacting and you hear them talk, Clive's either a really good liar or he really did care for Evie. So when they send people into cryo to preserve oxygen, I think they send Clive and Evie in first, and they have a really like tender moment, like they kiss before they go into cryo. And it kind of made me think, well, maybe they do care. Maybe Clive does care about her, or maybe he just thought he was gonna die, and he might as well be nice at the end. So I wonder, like, well, what did Clive end up doing after the events of the game? Evie, I don't know. She seemed pretty 2D to me. She was just the administrator of the station, so she's in the top role. I don't think she had very high marks. There was some question of whether or not she'd be renewed on the Tacoma station to be the administrator again, and they find out that they're all going to get renewed. And then when you find those messages from the CEO, it talks about how, oh, this is the most optimal station to sabotage because the crew are unnoteworthy. It would be cheap if we lost this station compared to other stations. So let's just renew the crew so we can sabotage them. And then everybody was really happy who was stressed out about being renewed, like Evie and Bert, probably Andrew too.
Yeah. Evie, I have some notes on. I believe it was her sister who died a year prior to this happening. And you could tell she was still a little bit hurt about that. She uses sleep aids to help her sleep because it's a stressful role, and she still hasn't gotten over her sister's death. And, I thought it was kind of nice, and I certainly didn't expect it. You walk into her room, and her AR figure is playing the guitar, right? So I thought she was a good character. She fulfilled the role, but I think she was also the most shallow of everybody else there because they didn't ever flesh out any of these ideas they set up at the beginning. Clive was the operations specialist. I have in my notes, he seems like an ass. Stuck in the past. His mother is an executive at a fine arts committee. So they're very much like, our family has this reputation. What are you doing wasting your time on this at this failing company in their lower echelon? So, and you find out he's heartbroken, and it seems like he might just be using Evie for a temporary relationship.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about the next duo. We got Natalie and Roberta or Bert.
Yeah.
So they are wife and wife. Natalie is the network specialist, and Roberta is a mechanical engineer. Roberta thinks she's holding back Natalie, and Natalie is given top marks. She seems like a genius, but she's also kind of the troublemaker of the group.
Yep.
She doesn't like to follow rules. She's the one who's constantly trying to teach Odin things that the company doesn't want him taught.
Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of cool that Natalie and Roberta share a room, and Natalie's room is just used for storage. It kind of fleshed those two out more. It was cool to walk into Roberta's engineer working office and see what she has at her workbench. Pictures of them and
She has her diploma too on the wall.
So I thought those two in their scenes together were probably the most interesting duo out of the three.
Yeah, I think they definitely explore their relationship the most. The general format, we touched on this, is everybody's together at the beginning of a scene and then they kind of split off. And it's usually Nat and Bert. I think I called Nat a net runner. I guess I've been playing too much Cyberpunk. Network specialist. But there's like a scene where they're talking with what is her name, Evie, and Nat says she doesn't have access to Odin's like core programming, and it's like hindering her ability to do her job, and she's really upset about it. And Evie keeps putting in requests to get her that access, and Venturis keeps denying it, and it just causes a lot of friction, and it kind of plays to that whole secretive nature of what Venturis is doing and their motives. And I think Natalie kind of picks up on that because she's really like anti-corporation, and there's a dartboard in the rec room and it's got a picture of Sergio's face on it, and you can play a little mini game. It's cool. So a lot of the employees, especially Natalie, seem to resent the corporation that they work for.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, I think that the scene between Natalie and Roberta when the explosion occurs is the strongest, most feeling-provoking scene of the game.
Yeah.
Hats off to the voice actors. It's also really cool that all these scenes were acted out by real people for the motion capture. So I think that these two characters are probably my favorite of the game, other than Odin. So let's go into the next duo. We've got Sarah Hazmati and Andrew Dagyab. Sarah is the medic. Andrew is the botanist, which is an important role on a space station because he produces all the food through growing plants, and so Sarah, as we alluded to, she botched a surgery in the past, is still kind of recovering from that. She is a bodybuilder, which I found in her locker. That was kind of cool that they flesh out these details on them. And Andrew, he's got a husband back on Earth. I think we already talked about, he's trying to pay for their son's tuition, and that's why he's sticking around at Venturis off Earth, missing their son's childhood to fulfill that dream of sending him to college.
Yeah.
So I've got all these notes on these characters that ended up not meaning anything. I know that Andrew's grandmother was killed in a Tibetan massacre in 2052. He invested in an orbital bungalow. And yeah, in these scenes, he seems to split off with Sarah the most. They seem like they're friends in the group, and they're the only two that aren't romantically interested in each other. And Sarah, I found anti-anxiety meds in her drawers. She had to testify that it was the AI's fault for the surgery. The company, as we alluded to earlier, is trying to get her to retract that testimony.
Did you see the stats on the AI on the wall? That was in relation to the Heka AI that was a part of that surgery. I have it in my notes somewhere saying that for 4 weeks the AI's performance had been on a decline, and the AI became unpersonable or antisocial, leading into that surgery. So there's like definitely like warranted suspicion on that AI as to Sarah's claims. But like you're saying, the company wants to keep it quiet.
Cover it up, yeah.
Yeah, there's like metrics to score the AI, and one of the things Natalie has in her office is she has Odin's metrics, and she like you can see a conversation with Odin where she's like, "We're gonna get your numbers way up."
Yeah. So I think not a whole lot more to say on this duo. They didn't have as deep of a relationship with each other, and it wasn't explored as much as, say, Roberta's and Nat's. So let's talk about...
Well, really quick, like when they were talking about their plan, Andrew is like the only one who has reservations about trying to fix up the man-made craft. He thinks everybody should just go into cryo and wait for them to be rescued because he's sure that Venturis is going to send somebody. But he ends up coming around after talking with Sarah.
Yeah, she convinces him.
So they do have...
Certainly hope.
Yeah, they do have probably the deepest relationship with each other.
Well, and Sarah convinces him. You find out partially because Sarah knows that everybody going into cryo isn't an option because Nat has a heart murmur.
Yeah.
If she goes into cryo, she will die.
Sarah kind of knows everything that's going on. Odin kind of confides and kind of leads her along the way.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the space station, Tacoma. I think it's essentially a character in itself. It's a setting. What do you guys think about its, constant presence in every scene and just Tacoma Space Station as a whole? The different areas, the observatory, the grass patio they had, with tea in it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, every area is distinct. There's the rec room, there's the gym we go in, there's like the operations room where everybody has their office. I think that it's cool being in that central like chassis where everything is connected to. You float around in 0G and they have the basketball hoop set up, and the observatory at the end where you can just float around. They nail the atmosphere of being isolated in space.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that atmosphere of you being alone on the space station is nailed with the environment. As we've touched on before, a lot of items are on the ground. There's a lot of chaos with a lot of what is going on in the spaceship at the space station. But at the end of the day, you're always isolated. You're always alone. There's not actually people around. You can see what they were doing, but there's always this mystery of where are they. When we learned that some people went into cryo, 3 of them went into cryo, I expected at some point to find them, dead in cryo.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked how you could pick everything up. I liked how you could pick everything up and spin it around, check the backside, read everything in the space station. I thought the space station was a highlight for sure. It was well laid out. It wasn't a maze at all. It wasn't difficult to navigate. Yeah,
I thought they did a good job. The characters really injected their personality into their areas.
Mm-hmm.
So in Nat's room, it's just full of tech that she stores there, and there's a note on the wall that says, if you're looking for Nat, check Bert's room. This room is just used for storage. And then you go into her and Bert's room, and it's just a lover's nest. It's messy. There's like kind of like hippie music playing. You can tell they're kind of slobs. Jay talked about how in Bert's workspace there's like her diploma on the wall, personal effects. It felt very, very personal.
It felt like a space they actually lived in.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of games really miss the mark on. You go into a room and you say this room was built because it's in a game. Not oh, I could see the characters actually living here
Mm-hmm.
day to day.
Yeah, you go into a room to explore, thinking there's going to be something in there, and there's just boxes, and it's like, oh, why did I go in here?
Mm-hmm.
None of that in this game.
There's 2 items I found during the game that I do want to touch on, just to see what you guys thought. First one is there was a pamphlet in someone's room, I don't remember whose, for the AI liberators, where it was the first time that you saw the concept of a group that was out to liberate AI. If I were to guess, it would be in Nat's room, but I don't remember whose room it was in. But it was cool to see that, you know, make a note of it, like, oh, there's actually a group that liberates AI. Forget about it, and then at the end of the game, you're an AI liberator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that, thought nothing of it, and then ended up being the big twist at the end. And it's nice when stories do that kind of foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm. And then the second item is in the bathroom or Nat's room where they did storage. They had a whole bunch of kitty litter. Is there a cat in there, or are they using that for something else? Was there a cat somewhere? And I don't remember them saving a cat. So
there was an AR cat in every single scene, where if you found it in every scene, you got achievement.
Really?
Yeah. So there was one. It was like in the laundry room, up on the shelf. You had to look up to see it. The cat was in one of the like storage rooms, like way up high in a box. You had to find. There was a cat in that final area where you go into the secret room. If you like look up, like running across the pipe.
I found it in exactly 0 scenes.
Well,
You found the litter box though.
I found the litter.
I saw the litter box and I saw cat food everywhere. So I was like, there's got to be a cat somewhere. So I went back and looked everywhere. And I found it. So, yeah, that was a nice little touch. They have a space station pet on board. And
But
it's very much a callback to the original Alien, I think.
In the shower
Jonesy.
of like the fitness area, you can go in there and like Nat is in the shower and she's like dancing to some like K-pop looking like boy band, and like there's some messages. One vein. Yeah, so I thought that was funny. That didn't seem to like fit her personality, that she was a big fan of that group, but guilty pleasure, I guess.
I had that scene as the talking point, but I didn't bring it up. It kind of seemed intrusive, right? You're watching an AR polygon take a shower.
Yeah.
And it just kind of added to the grossness, I think, of the company, is they're recording everything they do, even when they're in the shower, you know, all hours of the day. So it kind of adds to their overarching theme of company bad.
Yeah.
Man,
Sergio's on the dartboard.
You think deep. I would never thought of that.
Well, yeah,
So
it was
I've
weird.
been like, oh, they're there, but oh, actually, the only way you see it is because they recorded it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think of the characters of Venturis and Carnival? The companies that seem like a constant presence throughout these characters' lives.
Well, Venturis was really scummy, sacrificing human lives for profits, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's what companies care about. I don't really know how I feel about Carnival. I mean, they seem like the good guys. They came and rescued them. I don't know if they're any better. Like, who's to say if they were in a similar situation, they wouldn't do the same thing?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that about sums it up. And then any thoughts on Sergio Venturi, CEO of Venturis?
No thoughts.
I think we said it all. It's pretty shitty.
It was kind of cool in the game. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but if you stayed in a room and didn't follow the people and kept the recording going, they would start to play company propaganda over the speaker.
Really?
And so you could actually hear Sergio throughout the entire game if you stayed in unoccupied rooms.
He seemed like a typical video game CEO of an evil company.
Yeah. But I thought the voice acting was done well.
Yes.
Okay, so to wrap it up, I just want to mention some awards they were nominated for. At the Golden Joysticks, they were nominated for Best Storytelling, Best Audio, Best Indie Game, and Xbox Game of the Year. At the National Academy of Video Game Trade Reviewers Awards, they were nominated for Original Adventure. At the Independent Games Festival, they were nominated for Excellence in Narrative. At the 14th British Academy Games Awards, they were nominated for their narrative. And at the 2018 Games for Change Awards, they were nominated for Best Gameplay.
Best gameplay, that's interesting.
Well, I will say some of these games we've played, I've encountered a lot of jank.
Yeah.
A lot of annoyance in having to redo big sections or having bugs that really brought me out of it.
Mm-hmm.
In this game, I had none of that.
Yeah.
Not once. Only thing that I could say was maybe a hitch was sometimes going down the elevator would skip.
Yep.
But I believe if I would have played it on my Series X, it wouldn't have done that. I played it on the Xbox One X. So they sold fewer copies of than Gone Home did, which Paul said he thought it missed the mark sales-wise that they were expecting. And I think that you're right in that statement, but I don't know why. Why do you think that Gone Home was such a takeoff success and Tacoma wasn't? Only thing I can think of is in games media, everybody was raving about Gone Home.
Yeah, I think Gone Home
word of mouth on Tacoma never really took off.
Yeah, I think Gone Home was just covered more by the gaming media and more people played it as a result. I don't know why the reception in the gaming media was more lukewarm on Tacoma. When did it come out?
I believe 2017.
Maybe everybody was just playing Breath of the Wild. I mean, I'm sure they still did well and made money on this game.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I'm a big fan of Fulbright. I want him to keep making stuff. I'll be down for a fun afternoon anytime. Sit down, settle in for a movie game.
Yeah.
But I'm a fan of the walking sim genre.
I'm not sure how big that, like, it's a niche in the gaming community. I'm not sure how big it is.
Yeah, but in the walking sim niche, I think Fulbright and I'm blanking on the name that made Firewatch.
Coffee House publishes it.
I forget who made it, but those two are kind of the gold standard.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into our final thoughts. This is where we talk about our final verdict and how we would put a score on the game. John, wanna go first?
Yeah, sure. So for me, I think I just didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't realize, like I've said earlier, I didn't know walking sim was a genre of video game. I didn't know they make video games with so little actual gameplay, or where you just kind of walk through. If I would have known to treat it like a movie or a book as I was going through, then maybe I would have enjoyed it more. But for me, the entire time I was playing, I was looking for more. I was looking for something to do and never found it. That being said, I can see the value that the player development, environmental development had. I liked the ability to pick up literally everything in the entire space station and examine it. I think if I was actually able to look for clues and had to figure something out, I probably would have enjoyed it more, because that was more of what I was expecting. But I can see, I see the value in the characters that were, and the story that we played through. But for me, with how I thought the game was going to be, I personally just didn't enjoy it very much when I was playing through it. For me, are we doing ratings right now?
Yep.
For me, playing through it, I just, like I said, I didn't enjoy it. I'd give it a 4.
4 out of 10. All right, Paul.
Yeah, so walking sims aren't my favorite kind of game to play. This game was made for people who enjoy walking sims. And if you are the type of person who likes those games, I'm sure that you'd like this game. There's not a lot of traditional gameplay where you're shooting a gun or interacting in a meaningful way with your environment other than reading stuff and walking around and looking at stuff. But I think that's the norm for this industry. Like Firewatch is the same way, Gone Home was the same way. And that's okay. This game isn't for everybody, but they didn't make it for everybody. It's not targeted at a mainstream audience. And I think this game, everything it tries to do, it does good. We talked about how it kind of missed the mark or didn't quite execute on everything it tried to do, but I think overall it did everything good. The setting of the Tacoma space station, I thought, man, they really could have made almost any kind of game they would have wanted to in the setting. They could have made like a survival horror game. They could have made a Space Marine shoot 'em up. Like really the potential for this setting was endless in terms of what you could do with a game. But I think what they chose to do worked, and it's a good game. Probably not. I didn't enjoy it. I played Gone Home right after this, and I did enjoy that game more. But this one was good. I enjoyed it. It was like a good way to come home from work and enjoy a couple hours of doing like an interactive movie. Got really immersed, played it in one setting, and the time flew by. So all that said, I think I'd give this game a 7 out of 10.
Okay. 7 out of 10 for Paul. For me, I enjoyed this game. I enjoy walking sims as a genre, and I liked all the little details they put crammed into the game. I liked that when you held a drinking pouch, it flopped depending on what way you were tilting it. I liked that when you were standing at the observatory, you could see the oxygen tanks on the side of the space station that was rotating by that were ruptured. I like that you could go through, just listen to the scenes play out, not read anything, and go through the game that way. Or if you were more interested, you could read more. I liked all the Easter eggs they hid. I really enjoyed it, having played the previous games, so Nervous Den and Gone Home. It was fun for me to find the same jazz mug. It was fun for me to hunt for where the cat was, you know. So I kind of made my own fun in this game, and I thought there were big payoffs, like finding the Christmas duck. Because there's an achievement in Gone Home. If you bring the Christmas duck to the very end scene, you get achievement because it's the first thing you find.
You have to carry it through the whole game.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it. I'm a fan of Steve Gaynor's work, though. I thought the voice acting was incredible, gold standard for video games as a whole, and I thought that they accomplished what they set out to do, which was make a walking sim that was enjoyable, had a good story. I mentioned they missed the mark, some of the awkward pauses and that kind of thing, but overall, I give it a 7 out of 10 as well. I thought it was a good walking sim game. As I mentioned before, I liked Minerva's Den more than Tacoma, and I think I would put Gone Home as the top of the three. So For me, it's a 7 out of 10. So 4 for John, 7 for Paul, and a 7 for me.
I definitely liked it more than Minerva's Den.
You think so?
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I just felt more immersed in Tacoma than I did in Minerva's Den.
I think that maybe marathoning all of Bioshock 2 and Minerva's Den directly after may have had a detriment on our experience with Minerva's Den.
Yeah.
But that's how I feel about the 3 games. The last thing we do every podcast before we close it out is we pick the next game in the rotation. And this pick is John's pick. So, John, what's it going to be?
So, for the next episode of Giants of Backlog, we will be playing the Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Or I guess if either of you have a PS1 still, you guys can play the 3 originals. That's my my childhood favorite. I played through them probably 3 times each, and I'm excited to play them again.
Awesome.
Right on. So catch us back here in 2 weeks, and we'll be discussing the Spyro Reignited Trilogy. And if you want to follow along, try to get through those games in 3 weeks. All right. So this was Giants of Backlog. We would really appreciate it if you enjoyed this to share it with your friends or other people who might enjoy it. And thanks for watching and listening, and we'll catch you next time.